store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station. KBLA Talk 1580.
Bounce is back.
Let me tell you why I love him. 'Cause he is the truth. Said he is so real. And I love the way that he makes me feel. And if I am a reflection of him, then I must be fly. Because his light, it shines so bright, I wouldn't lie. I remember the very first day that I saw him.
Welcome in. It is Tuesday, and you are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Thank you for clocking in on this good Tuesday evening. This is the show where we hit all the trending topics across entertainment, sports, lifestyle, and culture. I am your host, Jill Munroe. I hope that you are comfortable and ready for a show full of lots of topics, lots of discussion, as always. But before we get into things, I want to let you know that you have to download the app if you haven't already, so you can take us with you on the go. Start there. Also, if you want to call in at any point during the night, 800-920-1580. We love that. We love to hear from our callers. And if you want to follow us on social media, KBLA 1580 everywhere. I am at Stiletto Jill everywhere. Hit me up. Let me know what you think of the show. If there's something you want to talk about, something you're interested in, let me know. All right, let me get into what we are going to be discussing on this good Tuesday evening. As always, there's a lot happening. We're going to be talking about Blac Chyna. Well, formerly known as Blac Chyna. She's now known as Angela White. She's going by her given name. She is, in some situations with her children's fathers. She is requesting custody and funds. And she's having to make an unusual move in order to survive, so she says. So we're going to get into that, and we're going to discuss, is it worth it? We're going to talk about that. We're also going to get into Marvel actor Anthony Mackie. It's a big thing to be in the Marvel franchise. You make a commitment for years to those characters. We know that there are toys and appearances and all types of things that go into being a part of the Marvel franchise. And of course, it's Disney. It's big with kids. But Mackie is getting a little heat because of something that he did when a fan approached him. Is it okay? Is it valid? Is it right? We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about the hottest rapper in the game right now, Sexy Red. She's everywhere, but her recent comments on a podcast have people kind of looking at her sideways. So we're going to get into what she had to say about former President Donald Trump. We are also going to get into Michael Jordan. He has a new status. We're going to discuss that. We always like to big up things happening with our, legends, our living legends, giving flowers while they are still around to receive them. We're going to talk about the Blind Side case. Yes, it's still going. There's been some twists and turns. And the author, he keeps speaking on things. He has a lot of commentary. We're going to discuss that. We're also going to get into, I mentioned this story last night. We didn't have time to get to it, but we're going to talk about what the top 10 car brands that are driven by millionaires are. It's not what you think. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to get into some comments from SZA, some other comments from Flo Milli, and we're going to talk about, Rolling Stone. They always have a thought, an opinion, a project that will shake people up. So we're going to talk about their announcement of a new documentary coming and what some people feel is the elephant in the room, the thing that's being overlooked, and why it needs to be called out. So naturally, before we get into that, we have a couple of conversation starters to get it going, right? So first of all, we want to say happy anniversary to the Obamas. They are celebrating 31 years of marriage today. So give it up for that. They survived 8 years in the White House, still going strong. It's a big thing. You know, marriage rates are going down, and the Obamas are everybody's favorite couple. We also want to say happy birthday to A$AP Rocky. It's his birthday today. Rihanna's baby daddy. We love them as a couple, or we like them as a couple. Depends on where you stand on that. Now, we know that there's been a lot of conversation around Keffe D and his arrest and what is happening as far as the Tupac case, what the charges actually are, where investigators are gathering the evidence from. And so we've heard Suge Knight's comments, right? He said no matter what, prosecution or defense, he's not testifying. He also said that Orlando Anderson was not the shooter, but won't name who the shooter is. So do with that what you will. Maybe he's trying to hold on to it as a negotiating chip with his jail time or something like that, but he's not divulging anything. However, Keffe D investigators say that his original confession was not used. He gave that in exchange for immunity. So he had immunity originally. However, what prosecutors say they are using against him and where they did get information from is from his interviews with The Art of Dialogue. I don't know if you've heard of this YouTube channel, but they do a lot on Tupac, especially Death Row Records. They've had several interviews. They interviewed Keffe D a bunch of times. I think they've interviewed Reggie Wright Jr. Let's slow down. And really, like, if you had a marginal association with Death Row or during the time period, they probably are going to have you on. But they've had on some real people as well. So basically, that's what prosecutors are using, and they say that it's valid because it violates his agreement with authorities. So I don't know, we talk about Vlad all the time, we talk about these interviews, everybody wants to share their story, they want to be legendary, they want to be known as the street guys that they are, but you keep getting caught up. I don't understand the gangsters of today. This man is 60 years old. He should know better. Clout chasing that badly, but listen, if anything that he's put out is true, he deserves what he has coming, and hopefully justice will be served. When we come forward, we're going to get into the headlines and trending topics. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Infusing a sense of fun and entertainment in every episode. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
Hey, everything okay?
Yes, I'm fine.
Honey. Hey, I'm here for you. Tell me about school today.
When kids can't find the right words, music can help them sound it out. Talk to the kids in your life about their emotional well-being. Find tools and resources at sounditouttogether.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and Pivotal Ventures.
The possibility of lung cancer can be pretty scary, especially if you're one of approximately 8 million current or former smokers at high risk. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know that now there's a breakthrough low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early, and it only takes 60 seconds. You stop smoking, now start screening. For an easy quiz to see if you're eligible, visit SaveByTheScan.org. It could save your life. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
This season, your coffee orders are getting warmer, and your outfits are getting cozier. The world keeps changing, and so does COVID-19. That's why this season's COVID-19 shots have been updated. They're one of the best ways to help protect yourself against COVID-19. You can get a COVID-19 shot at the same visit as a flu shot if you're due for both, as recommended by the CDC. Talk to your healthcare provider to learn more and schedule at vaccines.gov. And don't forget to get extra cinnamon spice. Sponsored by Pfizer and BioNTech.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action is the youth component of the impactful CBO, known as the Community Coalition. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action has chapters at almost every South LA high school. Say Yeah, as they are popularly known, is located at 80th and Vermont, but serves young people all over South LA. Under the COCO umbrella, they train youth organizers, help underserved scholars prepare for college, and work with students to help them gain admission to top universities. South Central Youth Empowered Through Action fosters teen activism, where young people have led campaigns moving tens of millions of dollars to South LA schools and forcing officials to make AP classes available to students in under-resourced institutions. SCEL scholars have taken part in the March on Washington, been published in major news outlets, and been elected to city council. Long before she was mayor, Karen Bass started the program when she founded the Community Coalition. To donate, volunteer, or enroll a student in South Central Youth Empowered Through Action, please visit cocsouthla.org. cocsouthla.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Keeping you informed, entertained, and always ahead of the curve. This is RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. So, as I said, we have a lot to get into tonight. I'm sure if you've been on social media or around, you've seen photos from the Miami Heat's media day and Jimmy Butler with his blowout. Nobody apparently told him that a silk press is not the move for Miami in the fall, and he needed a trim, but that's beside the point. So, of course, there's lots of topics that come up around Media Day, mostly basketball related, but in a recent conversation with Rolling Stone's been busy, huh? Jimmy cleared up the rumors regarding he and pop star Shakira. He said just because people hang out, it doesn't mean that they're dating. It gives everybody something to talk about, so y'all take it and run with it. She's very, very cool, and that's all I got. So, of course, they sparked rumors when they were spotted eating in London, and I think she came to a couple of the Heat games during the playoffs. We'll have to see if he's just being coy or if there is something more to it. I would encourage, we talked about this, I do believe that Jimmy is a troll, but I still think that proper hair care is an important aspect of the conversation if you're going to troll. Like, don't just be out there with bad ends. It's not a good look. You could do better. Anyway, so now we're going to get into the conversation around Blac Chyna. We know we've been seeing Blac Chyna for years. We know she started out as an exotic dancer in the club. She's from DC, went down to Miami, got popular with some rappers, name dropped in some songs, ended up in some videos, ended up dating Tyga, and the rest is history. Well, the two are currently involved in a custody battle, and she said that she is having to sell her personal belongings, bags, shoes, designer clothing, all of that, on consignment and through friends in order to make ends meet. She said that she's brought in over $178,000 this year from selling her personal items, and it's supplemented her business sales, which aren't doing that well. She has her lash salon, she has a hair line, she also has a cosmetic line, but you know, even before this, I don't know how many people were actually purchasing her items. So she's, you know, in a bad situation, I guess, but trying to take care of herself and take care of her kids. She said that eventually, obviously, she's going to run out of clothes, purses, and shoes to sell. So they're fighting for legal and physical custody of their son, King. She says her legal bills are piling up and she won't be able to keep up the fight for her kid without money from Tyga, who she is fighting for custody. So make that make sense. She said that Tyga is interfering with the time that she does get to spend with her son, which only amounts to 24 hours in a week. She said that he refuses to directly communicate with her, share his contact information, or give her an address as to where King lives. She also says he's holding back information regarding King's health care, his safety and welfare, such as the location of his school, what school he attends, and his prescriptions. And so supposedly, according to TMZ, Chyna knows where Tyga lives, and even though he's been paying for King's private school tuition, medical bills, and his everyday expenses, Chyna still feels like he's playing with her. He's playing with her time. So she wants the court to establish consistent and regular visiting schedule with King and to block Tyga from obstructing this. And she also wants him to pay $125,000 to cover her legal and accounting fees. So he's 10 and a half, by the way. This is the question that I have. We've seen Chyna in a lot of various formats and things of that nature. We've seen her burn through, we think, a lot of money. Is there an exit plan for the Instagram vixen life, the influencer life? At what point do they start thinking about that? Taxes, putting away money. I don't know. It seems like every time we hear one of these stories and we hear their arc where they're turning their life around, it always ends, though, well, maybe not the end, but the middle of it always comes to them not having any funds to sustain themselves and no plan for the next move for employment, right? You're not a superstar or, a celebrity in that you are known necessarily for, being a singing artist or an actor or something in that manner, even though, nobody should be too good to take a job if they need to. But what's the plan? What's the end goal? Because, realistically speaking, I don't think Tyga's one of the hottest rappers in the game right now. And that's no diss, that's no shade. I'm not saying he can't come back with something, but realistically speaking, how long is he going to be able to fund these things? Obviously, her other child's father is a Kardashian, so that's different, but, the custody setup allegedly is tricky over there too. So I just wonder, we have been full blown into the Instagram era and the Instagram vixen. I feel for about 10 to 13, 14 years at this point. So by now we've seen a whole cycle come in, a whole cycle exit, age out the game, find out it's not for them, change, whatever. We've heard all of the redemption stories. We've seen the situations where they're fighting on social media, the custody battles, the battles over homes and cars. Some of these women, like you think about Cam Newton's ex, she was also a dancer. She had 5 children with him. They weren't married. And he's pressing her to get back a 2018 Bentley. She needs to have something to drive the kids around in, right? So I just wonder, is it wrong to ask the question, well, what's next? Girl, what will you do when you get this? Because, again, I'm not saying, obviously, Chyna and Tyga were in a relationship for a substantial amount of time. They weren't married. But at what point do you find the middle road in the balance? Because I'm not saying that fathers should not be responsible. I'm not saying that celebrity fathers should not be responsible. And I'm definitely not saying that their children should not benefit to some degree from their lifestyle. And obviously in this situation, King is primarily with his father. But if his mother is making the attempt to clean up her life, why continue to punish her? He needs his mom, right? But I also just wonder, we hear a lot about Chyna's redemption. We see her on this tour. We see all the money. We see all the excess. But what's the real plan? What's the real goal? And is it only stardom? And if that doesn't work out, what's the next idea? I mean, how many beauty businesses, lash lines, online boutiques can we see? You know, I don't know. And here's the part two to that, is that I don't necessarily expect everyone to have the skill set, the wherewithal, nor the desire to be an entrepreneur and run a business. That's not realistic for everyone. So I can't say that all of these women should have taken that money and started a business. They may not have known how to. They may not have been able to manage that. That's a huge undertaking. But I do wonder if any of them think about a future, not just a future if you don't get the guy, even if you do get the guy. What's next? Dress and rest gets you left. I like that little rhyme I just made up. Anyway, in the chat, Forensic Accountant says, great question. There's nothing wrong with being regular. There isn't. And here's the thing. There's also nothing wrong with if you want to seek out fame and stardom and wherever. But at a certain point, there has to be something to happen in between where your goals are and where your reality has you at the moment, especially when you have children. I mean, I get it. Both of these children's fathers are famous and wealthy and should be contributing, and they are. But I don't know to what degree. And even if, let's say, it's okay, we got you, Chyna, $250,000 for the next 10 years. Then what? Those 10 years are going to go by quickly. And then what happens? Fahima says, if Blac Chyna doesn't have the means to support herself, it can potentially have a negative impact on her custody battle. How is she going to support her son King if not able to support herself? I agree. That is true exactly. And I'm sure the judge is going to be considering the same thing. So it's kind of curious to me that you're asking Tyga for financial help. I guess the idea is that she will use this and she is trying to restructure her businesses or get them aligned because she has left, you know, in theory, she has, with the change and the evolution of her lifestyle, leaving OnlyFans, probably not doing club appearances like she used to. I'm sure that that has added to a significant drop in her income. So I guess she's looking for alternative means. I know that I saw on Instagram she is remodeling her boutique lash, which is located here in, well, it's in the Valley actually. But I know a lot of times for a long period of time, it wasn't open. I don't know why, you know, obviously don't know the inner workings of her business model, but it probably wasn't a priority. You know, we also have to stop thinking that getting a prepackaged skincare line or, you know, clothes from one of the overseas resellers or whatever you want to call them makes us have a full-on beauty brand or a line and that people are just going to flock to it. Like, there is a moment where you are white hot and people are moving and circling around you, but that moment cools for everyone. Look at Kylie Jenner. Remember when there were Kylie lip kits when she came off of taking Chyna's man? And now she's still Kylie, but it's not the same. So I hope that the young girls that idolize these type of positions are also paying attention. I know everyone thinks it couldn't be me, it wouldn't be me, it never would be me. But what are you doing to ensure of that? You know? Just seems like it's really sad that they continue to go back and forth through this. So basically the schedule for her having her children is she has King on the weekdays and him on the weekends, right? The schedule was maintained until, I guess, she gave birth to Dream. And then that's when things started going different with them. So I don't know. I guess he felt like that was too far, too much. Not really sure. Aubrey Sinclair in the chat says she needs some rental properties. Real estate is still making people rich and living a good life. It is, but what if she can't maintain that? Because with rental properties, there's collecting rent. You could get a property manager, but these are things that you have to follow up on. We can't necessarily say that she would do that. And then here's the thing too. According to, some stories that have circulated over the years on TMZ, she doesn't even own her own home. She rents homes and sort of changes up homes as we go. Not sure the reasoning behind that, but that is the choice that she made. Pretty Brown Mimi says, Angela has changed her lifestyle. Why can't Tyga and Rob pay child support? I don't understand men that don't want to take care of their kids. Well, here's the thing. I think that they feel as though they are because they have primary custody. I think she is fighting for joint custody currently, or they may already have it, but physical custody is primarily spent with the two fathers. So she has the children on a limited time frame. So I guess, they feel they're doing their part, but they don't feel that their part should be contributing to maintaining her lifestyle to a certain degree. Pretty Brown Mimi also says paying for their education is fine, but they can do more. Again, I feel like they feel as though that they are because they're dealing with most of the day-to-day costs, medical expenses, and so forth. So if the child primarily lives with them, is it their duty to make sure that the mother is at least at a baseline level? Fahima says, obviously, the chance is to facilitate her custody case. The judge might not think a mother on OnlyFans. Obviously, the change is to facilitate her custody case. The judge might not think a mother on OnlyFans will provide a nurturing home life for a child. That's true. But, Dad, if we're talking about Tyga, is a rapper that also has an OnlyFans where he literally does porn on there. Literally. That's not an exaggeration. He literally has intercourse on his OnlyFans. So I don't know. It's up in the air. When we come forward, we'll have more on this topic, more trending topics and headlines. You are locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. News and sports is on the other side.
Because it's light, it shines so bright, I wouldn't lie. In the same man that makes me so mad.
Do you know what he did?
Turn right around and kiss me so soft.
Girl, do you know what he did?
If he ever left me, I wouldn't even be sad. No, 'cause
RSVP with Jill Munroe is your go-to show for staying in the know. More engaging conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Doug Davis, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Florida Congressman Matt Gaetz says nobody trusts Kevin McCarthy.
Kevin McCarthy has made multiple contradictory promises, and when they all came due, he lost votes of people who maybe don't even ideologically agree with me on everything.
His comments come after the House in a historic vote stripped McCarthy of his speaker's gavel today. Gaetz rallied against McCarthy for failing to rein in government spending and breaking promises he made to conservatives back in January when he was first elected Speaker. In Georgia, Atlanta City Council is putting pressure on the police department to release recent body cam footage. It's been nearly 2 months since African-American Johnny Holman died in custody after a traffic stop. The council passed a resolution yesterday which urged the APD to release the footage to the public. And that is the latest. I'm Doug Davis from the Black Information Network and BINnews.com. Make it a safe one out there.
Need an accident attorney by your side? All you got to do is call the Accident Guys.
Injured in a car accident or at work? The Accident Guys can come to you almost anywhere, so you don't have to come to us. Se habla español.
Gotta stay fresh, my house shot with a rest bar,
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
The bounce is back.
A sense of peace, a place to kick back and put down roots, a lasting legacy. However you define home, at City National, we're committed to helping you get there with our City National Ladder Up Home Loan Program. Find the full benefits at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National Bank, here for our clients and communities. Ladder Up program is available only in select areas. Terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS ID 536994.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
The rent is too damn high. KBLA joins you in calling for affordable housing. The LA Tenants Union is a diverse, tenant-led movement fighting for the human right to housing for all. The LA Tenants Union demands safe, affordable housing and union rent control. They organize against landlord harassment, mass evictions, and displacement, and mobilize for the repeal of the Ellis Act and Costa-Hawkins Act. The LA Tenants Union is on a mission to strengthen tenants' political power through education, advocacy, and direct action. To get help with your eviction or other landlord-tenant issues, take action for justice, or become a member, visit latenantsunion.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
At Susan G. Komen, we believe that ending breast cancer needs all of us working together. Because if you've just been diagnosed and don't know where to turn, we've got you. If you can't afford the treatment you need, we've got you. And if you are driven to honor the loved one you've just lost, we have a place for you here. Because of you, we're supporting those who need help today while tirelessly searching for tomorrow's cures. Visit Komen.org and be a part of our Susan G. Komen community today.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, could potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
For all of us, this generation and the next, there is simply no place in our lives for litter. And yet, it's everywhere we look. And unfortunately, it does belong to all of us. So, let's come together and create a litter-free, clean California, once and for all. Remember to properly dispose of your trash and recycling. Secure truckloads with tarps to keep debris from flying out. Clean out your car when you're at a gas station. Take pride in your community by organizing a cleanup event, or join a cleanup event near you. Zero litter is the goal. Join us at cleanca.com. That's cleanca.com. Let's do it together. Brought to you by Caltrans. cleanca.com.
I'm MC Light for Hip Hop Heritage, celebrating 50 years of hip hop, authentically powered by Cadillac. From its earliest days of show-stopping, DJs and MCs cold rocking parties, to its dominance on the music charts, hip-hop has been the biggest game changer in American music, and I mean ever. And it's not just about the music. It's how we celebrate, how we communicate, how we continue to elevate. Check out Cadillac and see how our swag has evolved and continues to revolve around the world.
For more on how Cadillac is celebrating hip-hop's 50th, visit Cadillac.com/audacity.
Curating the most compelling stories and delivering them straight to your ears. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
homies do turn to fake phony dudes. Let me find out that you phony too. Yeah, fake homies do turn to fake. Roll my blunt, fill my cup, beat my hold my load it up, count my slugs. Yeah, they don't know nothing. Roll my blunt, eat my they don't know nothing. Roll my
You
blunt,
were locked
fill my
in
cup.
to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. You know, the show where we hit all the trending topics across entertainment, sports, lifestyle, and culture. We were discussing Blac Chyna, well, Angela White, formerly known as Blac Chyna, and her predicament where she is seeking an amendment to the custody arrangement of her oldest son, King, as well as support assistance, because currently she is having to sell her personal items. She explains in the ruling that, you know, the situation with King going to live with his dad was temporary because after she had her daughter Dream, she and Rob broke up when Dream was 3 months, and that started a nasty battle which, you know, spanned social media, court systems, and she felt that it would be better for King not to be involved in all that. So they worked out an agreement and everything was fine. But she said soon Tyga was leaving King more and more in his mother's company and nannies, and without giving her information or, you know, phone numbers, the essential information. She said that Tyga has switched King's school. She believes she knows what school he is attending, but he won't tell her. She has tried to call the school officials. She's not listed on the paperwork for his admission to the school. So they are being evasive and basically don't want to get involved, you know? So on one hand, you understand that the father is taking care of the son, but the son needs his mother. She said that she wants to ensure that King and Dream, her daughter with Rob Kardashian, spend time together and get to bond as siblings, I guess because that aspect has been worked out. I think it's kind of crazy that he's not even letting her know what school King goes to. I think that's a lot. And it's not right. She says King has indicated that he wants to spend more time with his mom. And at 10, it's so unfair that he is in the middle of this and made to express this and probably not wanting to disappoint either parent. It's really a tough situation. Fahima says, I told the story of my friend who makes 6 figures and had his daughter's mother pay him child support, and she was a teacher's assistant. Listen, we're all for equal treatment, right? But let's not be ridiculous. Let's not. Child support is to ensure, 1, that the children obviously are cared for, but 2, that they are cared for in the same style as the parent that is the more financially stable one. And so, you know, people will play with the law all day if you put yourself in that predicament. That is why, once again, it's key to have an exit plan. I know that's not something that people really think about, but they should. They're even trying to use, that there's these co-parenting apps that are available. Can you imagine if some people would have had these parenting apps back in the day, how much easier it would have made their life? But the app is Our Family Wizard, and basically each parent is required to check the app at least once every 24 hours. And that is where information is exchanged, messages, conversation, so forth. Seems like it makes things pretty easy to run through, but listen, we'll see what happens with that. Good luck. Nobody wants to see, families broken up and distraught. So hopefully they can get it together. All right, now, we've been talking a lot about Rolling Stone as of late, their hip-hop list over the summer of various things, groups, top executives, etc. We know that the creator of Rolling Stone said that he didn't feel that Black and female artists were articulate enough to be considered masters. And, they're always taking some heat for their musical opinions. Well, most recently, There is a new Peacock documentary that is coming, and it says the golden era of boy bands and its biggest stars. NSYNC, the Backstreet Boys, and New Kids on the Block. They'll be the subject of the documentary. But fans notice that those groups' inspiration is missing. Where's New Edition? Arguably, outside of the Jackson 5, the one that set it off. We know that New Kids on the Block was created specifically as a counter to New Edition. As a matter of fact, the man that was involved with creating New Edition, Maurice Starr, was involved with creating New Kids on the Block. Why is it that, here's the thing. On one hand, you could say that they're calling it the golden era of boy bands, so focusing largely on the 90s. But still, New Edition had a comeback album then. Their individual groups all went multi-platinum with their releases from the group aspect. You don't mention Boyz II Men, who obviously inspired NSYNC and Backstreet Boys and was spawned, so to speak, from Michael Bivins and New Edition. He didn't discover them, but he signed them. So what is it with bypassing New Edition? I don't even see how, and I understand these are white pop acts, but I don't even understand from a historical perspective. And you're starting with New Kids on the Block, how you can leave out New Edition. I think it's bias. Pretty Brown Mimi says, if New Edition isn't a part of the special, I don't want to see the documentary. I agree. Pretty Brown Mimi also said on the Angela White Blac Chyna topic, if Angela is destitute, why wouldn't Tyga want to help her become stable for their son? Because she's not in a relationship with him anymore? Because it might have got contentious? Because he doesn't feel responsible for her? That's the thing. The reality, the harsh reality is when you have children outside of wedlock, the man's not going to feel a responsibility for the woman when they break up. Some will, but most will not. And that's just the way it is. And legally, they don't have to be. Fahima says, I told him he was wrong. He married his lawyer in his custody case, and she's now their stepmother. Well, that's a lot. That's a lot of drama. That seems like an ethics conflict. May not be illegal, but it's immoral a little bit, depending upon who you ask. Pretty Brown Mimi says, oh no, Forensic Accountant says, as a musician, the fact that they say band is a problem for me. I agree. They're a group, not a band. But I guess, white acts were largely bands before the boy band, air quotes, era took over. It was always a problem for me too. I never subscribed to that. A band plays instruments, that's what Guns N' Roses are. That's what Aerosmith is. These are groups. They don't play instruments. They do choreography. They might play instruments, but that's not a part of their thing. When we come forward, we'll have more trending topics and headlines. We're going to talk about Michael Jordan and his billionaire status. Is that inspiring to you, or are we just over the billionaire title? We're also going to get into the Blind Side author and what he has said about Michael Orr that it's kind of offensive, maybe a teeny bit racist. All that and more. You're locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580.
Trending topics and the hottest happenings. You're listening to RSVP with Jill Munroe on KBLA Talk 1580.
In Big Tobacco's Fantasyland, children are the future. Here, tobacco companies are committed to higher education, offering scholarships to students who submit essays about the benefits of vaping. The tobacco industry even sponsors summer camps for kids. Don't worry, the tobacco-sponsored programs have been linked to leaving your kids more interested in smoking. In Big Tobacco's Fantasyland, the world's deadliest industry is your child's friend.
See reality at undo.org.
I'm getting vaccinated with Prevnar 20.
So am I, because I'm at risk for pneumococcal pneumonia.
If you're 19 or older with chronic conditions like asthma, diabetes, COPD, or heart disease, or are 65 or older, you are at increased risk for pneumococcal pneumonia. Ask your doctor or pharmacist about Prevnar 20, pneumococcal 20-valent conjugate vaccine. It can help protect you against pneumococcal pneumonia in just one dose. Even if you've already been vaccinated with other pneumonia vaccines, Prevnar 20 may help provide added protection. Prevnar 20 is approved for adults to help prevent infections from 20 strains of the bacteria that cause pneumococcal pneumonia. Continued approval may depend on a supportive study. Don't get Prevnar 20 if you've had a severe allergic reaction to the vaccine or its ingredients. Adults with weakened immune systems may have a lower response to the vaccine. Side effects include pain and swelling at the injection site, fatigue, headache, muscle, and joint pain. For full prescribing information, please call 1-855-213-2138 or visit Prevnar20.com.
KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about. KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for education as a right, not a privilege. Charles R. Drew University of Medicine and Science is a private, non-profit, community-founded, student-centered university committed to cultivating diverse health profession leaders who are dedicated to social justice and health equity for underserved populations. CDU does this through outstanding education, clinical service, and community engagement. Recently, Charles Drew University made history by opening only the 5th medical school at an historically Black university. Congratulations, South LA, and congratulations to the Dean of the medical school, Dr. Deborah Protho-Stith. CDU is now training doctors and providing $90 million in annual economic benefit to Watts and surrounding neighborhoods. To apply for medical school, get more information, or sign your child up for the Junior Doctors Saturday School program, visit cdrewu.edu. That's cdrewu.edu. At KBLA, we are dedicated to equity in education and ending healthcare apartheid. And we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Now back to more captivating conversation on RSVP with Jill Munroe.
You were locked into RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. Before we move forward, I just want to take a moment and send prayers and thoughts out to Morgan State University in Baltimore. There was an active shooter on campus. There were 4 people that were struck. They said the injuries aren't life-threatening. They were asking people to shelter in place. I'm not sure if that is over, but it is no longer an active shooter situation. So thoughts and prayers to them. I hope that everyone is safe and healthy and there is no longer a danger. Now, let's get into Michael Jordan. Listen, we know that Jordan is obviously a hoop legend, the GOAT to some, and we know that he's a billionaire, right? Well, he just crossed a major wealth threshold, according to Forbes, and he made the list of the top 400 richest Americans. He's the first athlete to ever make that list. And of course, that came because he sold the Charlotte Hornets earlier this year. We know Jordan's 60. He purchased the team back in 2010 for $175 million. He sold it this June for $3 billion. So he earned spot number 379 on the list, and he's the only sports professional present on the list. So if you're looking for billionaire status or the wealthiest individuals in America, it's not athletics. Apparently, well, maybe some owners. I don't know. They said he's the only sports professional, so I guess not even any owners are making the list. WWE founder Vince McMahon is on the list. So there it is right there. I don't know. The Powerball jackpot tomorrow is $1.2 billion. So maybe one of us, one of the VIPs, can work their way to getting on. I don't seriously think about being a billionaire. Like, I can't imagine. Do you know how much money that is? I mean, obviously, I'd take it if it was offered to me, but I can't imagine that seriously being a goal. I don't know. What do you guys think? Are you into it? I mean, obviously, you want money, but is being a billionaire something that you feasibly think that you will touch someone that has that in their life, or that you'll know someone that has been able to build something from the ground up and achieve that? We'll have to see what happens with Jordan, what he moves and what he does next. Forensic accountant says, I hope Michael Oher has a forensic accountant. That's funny. There's no telling how many offshore accounts are associated with the gatekeepers and thieves. You know, that's a good point. A judge ruled that the conservatorship was ended. I don't know if he was seeking any financial compensation from this aspect. We know he had talked about doing something before. He did, and ended up taking it away. But Michael Lewis, the man who wrote the Blind Side book originally, is commenting over about the situation. He was sat down for an interview with The Guardian, and he insinuated that Michael's complaint isn't legitimate. He's saying that the reason why Michael is acting like this and why he's suing them is because of mental illness. Basically, that he has CTE brought on from playing in the NFL. He said, what we're watching is a change of behavior. This is what happens to football players who get hit in the head. They run into problems with violence and aggression. I think that is so low-key racist. Like, what do you mean? These people, why should an adult have conservators? Why should they make money, or why should they have been making money off of every deal that he put together? There's no logical reason for that. There's no way to explain that away or to justify that. It's simply greed. Fahima says, I get the impression that Lewis may have known what was going on with Michael. How could he have fabricated the story with his lawyer? He couldn't have made that up, made up the conservatorship. I feel as though, listen, that family, and we're not trying to imply that they did not help him or that there weren't some good things that came out of it, right? And even if you argue that for a certain amount of time, because of whatever financially they were putting out to care for him or anything like that, that they were entitled to something. I'm not saying that they weren't entitled to anything, but how long ago did the movie The Blind Side come out? How long has that man been out of the NFL? Why are you still attached to his money? That to me is a moral thing. There's no reason for it except for out of greed and entitlement. So, I don't know. Of course, we haven't seen the last of this, but, you know, it's just sad. Pretty Brown Mimi says, I heard an interview with Michael Oher and said the film didn't accurately portray his life. And I'm sure it didn't. Here's the reality about getting a biopic. It's not going to be accurate. There are elements of your life, and by you, I'm saying the subject matter of these films, that you may think is incredibly fascinating, or you may think the detail of how you called your mother first and then your grandmother came over is very, very important. But in the grand scheme of things of filmmaking or TV making, it is not. And yes, people want the real story, but there is simply not enough time to squeeze even 2 years of someone's life into a 2-hour film and make it exactly the way that things went down. One, realistically speaking, unless you were video and documenting every second, it's all versions of everyone's memory, and that may or may not be accurate. Two, it may not be dramatic enough in parts, or you may need to move the story along because do you care about the night that they made Kraft macaroni and cheese for dinner instead of going out? Not really. You know, there might have been a great conversation that happened there, but it might be much more exciting to put that conversation after a game in a tense moment. That's just what screenwriting is. That's just what storytelling is. So I think the expectation that things are one-to-one exact is unrealistic. And I know that that is not fair, but I also think that, you know, we should recognize that. And that's just life. Forensic accountant says that the film was way off base. All these people with no experience in the mental health field trying to diagnose folks is maddening. Pretty Brown Mimi says this couple controlled his finances for 20 years. He's 38, 39 years old. They really took advantage of him. I agree. And I do think that, we're in the TikTok era where that is how our generation used to go to Google, or if you're a little older, I suppose, an encyclopedia or a newspaper. This generation goes to TikTok for their information, for their fact checking. And so I think that when it comes to mental health, while it is healthy that we have these open conversations and we are talking more about depression and other type of mental illnesses and ailments that happen to one another and emotions and feelings, I think it's important. I also think that we are quick to overdiagnose things. Disappointment does not equal depression. We have to learn to cope with, and we have to teach, our kids, the younger generation, to be able to cope with letdowns, challenges, setbacks, because that's life. It's unrealistic to think that things are always going to be rosy. I also think that, even, and we've talked about this and we'll probably continue to talk about this as far as relationships and things, but I think it's unhealthy that people assume that, and I don't think that they even assume it in the way that this is going to sound, but that they assume that there should be no rejection from the opposite sex, or that no one should be turning them down, or that someone has to have some big super reason because you think you're educated, fine, and paid, that they just could not be interested, and it's wrong and it has something to do with something else. But that is a conversation for another day. In hour 2, we're going to get into actor Anthony Mackie. If you are in a superhero franchise, a franchise that thrives with kids, what is your obligation to make yourself available to your fans? We're going to get into that because Anthony is making the social media rounds and it's not fun. We're also going to talk about which cars millionaires drive. We have a top 10 list for the cars that millionaires drive, and it's not what you think. So we're going to talk about that. We're also going to get into a little bit of SZA on Drake. She talked about their relationship, and she also talked about people branding her and saying that her entire image and brand is based off of low self-esteem. So we're going to have a conversation about that. All of that on the other side. You are locked in to RSVP with Jill Munroe here on KBLA Talk 1580. News and sports is up next.
But you still crazy. I share my clothes with my bitch, like she my sis. I don't beat my bitch. I need my bitch. She clean my crib. She feed my friends. She keep my cigarette. She keep my fridge packed. My freezer lit. That's how deep I get. Negative degrees. What's the type of bitch I need? Roll my blunt, fill my cup, beat my loaded up, count my slugs. Yeah, they don't know nothing. Roll my blunt, eat my. They don't know nothing. Roll my blunt, fill my cup. They don't know nothing. Roll my